Hi there guys, Sam here. Welcome to another video where I go through the 718 Cayman 4 litre versus the 2 litre. So I'll get straight into the video really. So yeah, once again, not actually in my Golf R. Obviously we're still going through this pandemic, but I wanted to go through something that's quite close to me really around Porsche. I've done plenty of videos in the past actually around Porsche, and to be honest, it's probably something that I'd like to aspire to in the future. It's always good to have little car targets. I'm quite passionate about cars. And something I've always found as being the sweet spot is the Cayman range. You know, that sort of mid-engined, quite small, well, relatively affordable to kind of get into. It's kind of an aspirational target. And they've always had quite a bit of an advantage. And actually, for me, driving a 911 or driving a Cayman, I got more enjoyment out of driving a Cayman. I've spent plenty of time around Porsche Silverstone, a lot of time in the 981 GT4, a lot of time in the 981 GTS, so I'm quite familiar with the Cayman from Porsche. Now the reason why I wanted to kind of compare the 4 litre and the 2 litre is kind of because I think a lot of what the 718 gained over the 981 was its kind of like agility, and they really did sort of tweak. Porsche are great at tweaking little bits, and you know, I think it looks great, and that's kind of the main part of what you want from a sports car. And actually comparing the 2 litre and the 4 litre, there's not actually that much difference, and you can very much spec a 2 litre to look like a 4 litre. So a base Cayman can look quite easily like a 4 litre GTS, and those are the kind of the two cars I want to talk about. So if you haven't seen the video that I've done earlier this year, it's one of my more popular videos, click on the link just up there. That's on sort of like a little bit of a car configuration of the 4 litre Cayman, a little bit more specs on it, the GTS. And for reference, new to new, I don't really think there's too much of a question. I think the 4 litre GTS is great. It's around sort of £64,000 in the UK, and I believe the 718 Cayman starts at around 45,000. So there's a £20,000 difference, but I think it's probably worth it because residuals and everything, and the added 100 brake horsepower is quite good. But what I found now is that you can actually pick up sort of like a 718 Cayman 2 years old for around 30,000, which is, when you start thinking of it like that, a £30,000 car to a £65,000 car, it kind of changes kind of what you, the actual kind of value of the car. Then the sort of 2 litre 718 has less to kind of sort of live up to really. And to be honest with you, I cannot see 4 litre GTS falling to those kind of values. Clearly the 2 litre 718 has, and part of the reason why it has is simply that engine. It's a 4-cylinder engine. People don't like the sound, and they've kind of written it off really as a sports car. I don't entirely kind of see it that way. If we just go straight onto kind of like the specifications on a normal 718 Cayman 2 litre, so you've got 300 PS, 220 kilowatts of power, 380 newton meters of torque. It's pretty good. Same mounted engine. You can get it in a 6-speed manual or a 7-speed PDK. The fantastic automatic gearbox from Porsche. In fact, actually, in comparison to the 4 litre Cayman GTS, you can't spec a PDK gearbox at the moment, so it's manual only. So if you're into your sort of your flappy paddle, and actually it's going to be a lot faster, to be honest with you, it just changes gear so seamlessly. You kind of have to go with one of the other Caymans, and again that kind of draws the gap a little bit closer. Looking quickly at the 4 litre GTS, you've got 400 PS, an extra 100 PS, 420 newton meters, so a lot more, although maximum torque comes a little bit higher up because it's naturally aspirated, not turbocharged, and as I said before, it's a 6-speed manual transmission. The one thing that I think is the most interesting, and this is where, you know, sports cars, they make their names not necessarily on a straight line but round corners, and for me, in order to be able to do that, you need to have a car that's quite lightweight. Now unfortunately, a lot of modern day cars in the last couple of years have so many safety features and everything that they weigh a lot, and in fact even the basic 718 Cayman is still quite heavy, to be honest with you. You know, 1,335 kilograms, still quite heavy, to be honest with you. But funny enough, not as heavy as the 4 litre, which, as you can see here, is actually 80 kilograms more. So that's a massive amount. No amount of carbon ceramic brakes or anything is going to make up that difference. And you you need less power to kind of get around. You've got less mass to kind of need really trick suspension to make it around the corners, and that's where I think the 2 litre has its massive plus sides. And in fact, on sort of like the 0 to 60 stakes, a 2 litre PDK Cayman is actually not too far off in terms of, it will still do like sub 5 seconds to 60. It's still quick in sort of real world, you know, look at British B roads and stuff like that. Do you really need any more power? Are you going to really use it? Unfortunately, the 4 litre Cayman, as with the GT4 and the GTS as well, they have very high gearing. So second gear is about 86 miles an hour. So realistically, you can only use 2 gears in the UK, which isn't particularly involving from where I'm sitting. Whereas, you know, you can be up and down on the paddles or whatever in the 2 litre and potentially have a little bit more fun. In terms of looks, I've got the Cayman GTS on the screen. Again, obviously, content previously on the past around this. And it looks great, and it certainly looks like a £65,000 car. But it will not take too much to get your base Cayman to look like that, you know, to spec slightly nicer wheels, change the paint job. You know, it doesn't take long. And the biggest thing is as well, where you're sitting in the interior sides, there's really nothing different. You know, a little bit of Alcantara here and there, but it's really similar and quite minimalistic, as Porsche seem to like to do. So from an interior point of view and a styling point of view, there's nothing different. And from a handling point of view, I kind of feel that by being less weight, 80 kilos less weight, I believe it's 60 kilos less weight if you spec the 2 litre with a PDK, 80 kilos if you had it with a manual. Hopefully you're still with me on this. And all of that combined makes it quite interesting of which one you'd go for and which one you'd actually put your own money into. As great as a naturally aspirated 4 litre would sound, or does sound, you know, is that really enough to justify the extra price? I mean, new for new, you're looking at £20,000. On the used market, luckily, you can potentially get even more off, you know, sort of like £35,000. And for me, there's just not that much of a difference. It's got an extra 100 brake horsepower, which is fantastic, and really does kind of step on the toes of the GT4. Certainly in terms of like an actual decent road car, it looks like something that'd be great to ride. And I'm hoping once all this stuff kind of blows over, I'll get to drive it around Porsche Silverstone's Experience Centre for 90 minutes and sort of thrash it around, if it's not later this year, hopefully next year. Maybe give me a chance to save up and actually maybe even buy a Porsche. But yeah, just a little bit of a debate that I kind of wanted to share with you guys in terms of two really, you know, comparing a model within its own range can always be a little bit tricky. But for me, I don't necessarily think the differences are that big. If you want to just go out, go on a road and have a great drive, you know, it's the same sort of chassis at the end of the day. You know, it works in all sort of cars down the range. You know, a Ford Fiesta has a great chassis, and that's what kind of makes the ST even better, because it kind of adds to that. But in terms of the sports car kind of world, it has to be a lot more. So the base 718 has a very good chassis to start with, and it's fun. You get the looks, you kind of get everything. So do you really need to spend that extra money to go for a naturally aspirated car? And particularly with those out, values now of the others, including the 2.5 litre GTS, are now likely to fall. So, you know, a little bit of conflict there kind of in the Cayman range. And that's kind of why I wanted to kind of share the video. It's got a little bit confusing in terms of how they position the engines and the power outputs and the gross weight and all that kind of stuff. But I think they're, you know, really important. Another thing which I found quite interesting is there's nothing you can't really spec on a base Cayman. If you want carbon ceramic brakes, if you want, you know, loads of interior carbon, if you really wanted to go all out with the best wheels, you can actually do that. It would probably end up costing you quite a lot more, to a point where the only difference is essentially the engine. So let me know what you think in terms of if it was your actual money, what would you go for? Would you go for a 2 litre 718 Cayman, or would you go for a 4 litre Cayman GTS? And essentially, well, the advantages for me of the 2 litre are you're saving, you know, if new for new, you're saving £20,000, which is a huge amount, and you're getting a slightly lighter car as well. It's got less to live up to because of its price, which is good, and you're still getting the same looks. Obviously, the advantage of the GTS, you're getting a nice naturally aspirated engine dying breed. You know, we're in 2020 now, but you know, they're clearly just going to completely kill them off in Europe soon. But other than the engine and the fact that they're very well spec'd, the GTSs, there's not actually anything really different. So it's whether or not you kind of want the badge, or you're just happy to kind of go along and have a sort of base Cayman. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you think. What would you go for? So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Slightly different again with what's kind of going on in the world. But do give it a like if you've enjoyed it. And yeah, let me know what you think is kind of best in your kind of mind. And hopefully the information I've kind of given you might help you out if you're interested in a 718 Cayman and you're not too sure what to go for. I would strongly advise to test drive it. Try it around like a little track. Try it around like Porsche Silverstone's little circuit as well, and you can kind of make your own mind up. But yeah, there's stuff that people just don't think about, like the weight is such a hugely important thing. The fact that you can specify a car to be quite similar anyway, and potentially save yourself quite a lot of money and still get the enjoyment. So it's always quite interesting about it. And two cars that I'm pretty interested in as well. You know, not really interested in getting rid of my Golf R, but it would always be nice. You always dream of having kind of like a sports car on the side. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a like if you have, and yeah, please subscribe for plenty more content. I'm dying to get out in the Golf R, and you know, it's only been sort of like a week and a half where I haven't sort of driven it. Yeah, and you kind of appreciate how good it is to drive and how much you enjoy driving when you're not actually driving. Same with the Fiesta ST, the Mark 7. So yeah, hopefully, maybe as the months kind of go on, get a chance to kind of drive it properly again, and yeah, I'll certainly show that with you guys. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. Give this a like and subscribe. Plenty more content to come, and I'll see you again next time. Cheers, guys.